What's up, y'all? Thanks for checking out another video. My name is Philosopher, the Monotone Magic player, and in today's budget brew, we're taking a look at Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdar from Modern Horizons 2. Just like my last video, the budget for this deck is $100, but that does not include the land base. So if you have basic lands and tapped lands, use those. If you have fetches and shocks and things like that, use that. I'm not going to count the land base because everybody is different, and honestly, I don't think it has that big of an impact on the deck. So just use whatever you have, and the rest of the deck is what we're going to focus on. If you're enjoying the content, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment down below with a commander that you want me to build from the upcoming D&D set. Nothing's really jumped out to me yet, so if you want to see a certain commander be built in an upcoming budget brew, leave a comment down below, I'll check them out, and if it looks good, it might be the topic of a future video. Lastly, if you want to check out the full deck list, you can follow the Moxfield link down in the description. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the deck tech. Today, we're taking a look at Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdar. This is a Rakdos commander who can be cast for either 1 red or 1 black mana, and only if we have discarded a card this turn. When they ETB, we may search our library for a card named the Underworld Cookbook, reveal it, and put it into our hand. And lastly, they have an activated ability where we can sacrifice 2 foods to cause a target creature to do 6 damage to itself. Asmor is an interesting commander because the only real direction it gives you in terms of deck building is that you need to be able to discard and that you want to make some food tokens, which probably makes sense given that they're a chef and all. Outside of that though, the rest of the deck is kinda whatever you want it to be. Personally, I chose to build a deck that produces food tokens, damages opponents for having no cards in hand, contains creatures who want to take damage, and that punishes opponents who aim to gain life. But enough talk about what we want to do, let's check out the cards that make it possible. First up is how we plan on casting our commander. Before we even get to pay the casting cost, we have to discard a card, which we can do with creatures such as Anji Falconwrath, who taps to let us discard a card to draw one, Fairy Macabre, who we can discard from hand to add some graveyard hate, or Chainer Nightmare Adapt, who lets us discard a card to cast a creature from our graveyard, albeit only once a turn. Next up, we've got Wheel of Fate, Faithless Looting, Thrill of Possibility, and Harnfell Horn of Bounty, which is the backside of Bergi. All 4 allow us to draw or effectively draw cards while also discarding from hand. Once we've discarded a card, we can pay the 1 mana for Asmor and have them hit the battlefield. When they do, we get to tutor the Underworld Cookbook to our hand. Asmor's Cookbook is a 1 mana artifact that gives us a repeatable discard outlet that also produces 1 food token, which Asmor can utilize for their activated ability. While the second ability on the cookbook might be useful on occasion, I think that more often than not, we will look to save the cookbook in order to reliably recur our commander and to produce more food tokens. So we know we need to discard in order to play our commander, but what cards do we want to pitch to the bin and what value can we get from discarding? We touched on Anji Falconwrath earlier, but I left out their last line of text, which reads, "Whenever you discard a card, if it has Madness, untap Anji Falconwrath." Madness is a keyword that allows us to cast certain cards for an alternate cost if the card was discarded. For example, we can look at a card like Necrogoyf, which is Tarmogoyf's older estranged brother, and usually this is a 5 cost card, but if we discarded it this turn, we can instead pay its Madness cost, which is only 1 generic and 2 black. Utilizing these Madness costs will allow us to play cards earlier than we would normally be able to, and it ensures that we benefit from discarding our cards. Another keyword that we can utilize is cycling. This is another alternate cost that requires us to pay a fee and discard for a variety of different effects. The most common is to discard the card with cycling in order to draw a card, but a card like Ash Barrens will allow us to color fix by finding a basic land card. And with Tectonic Reformation, we can give each land card in our hand cycling so we can avoid flooding in the late game. And I think discarding is so great that we should let our opponents join in on the fun. Court of Ambition, Mindrake, and Elderfang Disciple allow all of our opponents to discard so they don't feel left out of what we're doing. And of course, there's some value to be taken from the cards our opponents discard and the hand that we ravaged. Still looking at Court of Ambition, if our opponents don't have cards to discard, they lose 3 life or 6 if we are the Monarch. Punishing our opponents for discarding or having few to no cards in hand is one of our win conditions, so we loaded the deck with cards like Raider's Wake, Quest for the Nilestone, Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage, the Rack, and many others. And I might have thrown in a Turgid because I felt the chaotic Rakdos energy coursing through my veins, and I want to play all of my friends' cards. By the way, don't play this card if you want to stay friends with the people at the table. Tergrid is for burning bridges and laughing as they burn. Now at this point of deck building, there was still a lack of spice, that little special something that really elevates a deck. And with Asmor being a chef, I felt like we owed it to her to find those missing ingredients. So there's 2 little sub-themes that I added in hopes to appease Asmor, the same way she appeased the Pit Lord Vincent she was forced to cook for. That was for all you lore nerds out there. Anywho, I decided to throw in a few creatures that damage an opponent whenever they take damage, so we can make Asmor's activated ability somewhat relevant. Brash Taunter, Stuffy Doll, and Mog Maniac fill the same role of redirecting damage from themselves to target opponent. On top of that, we can use Spiteful Shadows or Ragged Veins to enchant our opponent's creatures to give them similar effects. Pair any of these creatures with a Blasphemous Act, and that's just a hilarious way to knock out your opponents. Now you're probably thinking, this is great and all, but what about all those pesky white Lifegain decks? Damage doesn't matter when they're just going to gain 20, 50, or 100 life in a turn. But I thought of that too. Reign of Gore is a 2-mana enchantment that turns all life gain into life drain instead. But that's too telegraphed, right? Too easy to avoid? Well, that's why we have False Cure. This 2-mana instant reads, until end of turn, whenever a player gains life, that player loses 2 life for each 1 he or she gained. Cast this in response to someone gaining 10 life and they lose 20 instead. Just imagining the moment this resolves and someone nukes themselves is enough reason to include it in the deck. And I'm hoping that's some spice that Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdar can be proud of. I hope you all enjoyed the deck tech, and if you're looking for the full list, check out the Moxfield link in the description. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content, and leave me a comment down below on what commander I should build from the new D&D set coming out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.
You